We have another really cool deck here in the no ban list format today. This is 4-color Omnath. This is a deck that at one point was legal, unfortunately is not anymore. So let's take a look at what changed and what got us here. So the card that was originally very powerful and made this deck possible was Omnath, Locus of Creation. Hard one to say sometimes. When he enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card. So for 4 mana, it's a little bit underutilized in that capacity, but he has a lot of value on top of that. I mean, for starters, he's a legendary 4/4 for 4, so that's already on rate. Drawing a card is also pretty cool because he replaces himself. And the big thing about Omnath is his land synergy. This was in the Battle for Zendikar, I think, where they brought back Landfall, and he's in particular has a pretty cool one. So for the first land that enters the battlefield under your control, once Omnath is in play, you gain 4 life. For the second one, you add his casting cost, which is pretty relevant here. And if it's the third time, he gets to deal 4 damage to opponents and their planeswalkers. Third one is not super relevant, but the second one to add 4 mana is just super huge, especially in a deck where you're overlapping with these mana callers. So from here, we want to basically just use them as a value engine, honestly, trying to put lands into play. And a good way to put lands into play is with one of the cards coming off of the ban list, Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, in this format. So Uro's, just generally a busted card. Gain 3 life, draw a card, possibly ramp every time he enters the battlefield or attacks. And, the escape cost helps once we've been throwing things into our graveyard or if the game goes long and our opponent has dealt with a bunch of our threats. Uro, very good card. Because we're overlapping with blue-green, we also get to play Oko, another busted card, very good with control. We also get to play the unnerfed Teferi Time Raveler. Very good card, comes down on 3 instead of 4, and the ability to lock your opponent out of instant speed interaction and to sometimes bounce their single large threat is really relevant in this format with channel and stuff like that. If our opponent goes for a turn 2 channel and we're on the draw, if we're on the play, we'll have our third land drop potentially into a Teferi that can send a new Ulamog back to hand that they won't be able to recast with another channel due to their life total. It's worth noting that Omnath is another card similar to Teferi Time Raveler that has some nerfs to him. So I believe his current form is just less good to the point where we just don't see play with him. Additionally, we have Karn. No Karn board right now, but this will be in the video description. We're going to just run some basic control things. The liquid metal coating things, Platinum Angel statue, the God Pharaoh statue, general things like this. So definitely take a look for that in the deck link rather. Moving on, we have Once Upon a Time. This is a really solid card that allows us to just play it for free at the beginning of the game. This thing was banned pretty quickly out of Eldraine just because of how strong it was and how free it was and how just anyone could run it. Even if you weren't playing green, it was sometimes just worth it to have a single Once Upon a Time in case you draw it in your opening hand. Pretty decent card. You get to look at the top 5, get a creature or land. We're playing a lot of both of those, so this is really useful. Plus, Once Upon a Time getting lands is particularly good with Uro, in case we want to make sure that we have our Uro trigger. And then also, if we want to find a land to gain some life with Omnath, that's pretty useful too. The fact that this deck can gain so much life through Omnath, Uro, and technically even Swords to Plowshares on one of our Uros is really relevant because our opponent, this might give us another turn against a channel deck, or if our opponent is on some sort of creature-based strategy, we can really just play the long game and outlast them. So yeah, like I said, Swords to Plowshares is in here. We have Ragavan, another really solid card, and Delighted Halfling since we are playing so many legendary spells. Actually, now that I think about it, all of our non Swords to Plowshares, Once Upon a Time, and Delighted Halfling, everything else is legendary. So that's pretty good for us because that means that Delighted Halfling can make all of our things uncounterable. Now, the other thing to talk about here is the fact that we get to play Gigantha. Gigantha is pretty cool because if we play it and then draw an Omnath, we can pretty much utilize all of the Gigantha mana, which normally can only go towards non-generic mana costs. So for a thing like Uro, we're going to be wasting 3 mana out of our Gigantha, but if we have an Omnath, we get to use all but 1. The other thing that this deck can do is do a Field of the Dead thing. If you haven't seen this card, this was banned a long time ago in Historic because of the Scape Shift combo that won a GP, I think, with Field of the Dead. Pretty cool card. We're running it just as a one-of. We're not doing any big shenanigans with it. The idea is just, if we find a Field of the Dead, maybe at some point in the late game we'll be able to make a Field of Zombies for our opponent to deal with. And then the one notable piece of tech is Fabled Passage plus Omnath. This is just generally good to find one of our basics, plus it will trigger Omnath's second ability, so a Fabled Passage can ramp us pretty hard, as it turns out. Ways of double landing are pretty much just Fabled Passage and a Uro. So it's not often that we're going to be getting our second Omnath trigger, but honestly, his first trigger of gaining 4 life every turn, potentially, is just so strong that a lot of decks can't beat it. So all in all, this is just a value kind of control deck. Swords to Plowshares is mainly here just in case we play a channel deck, because that just really needs to be answered. But we have pretty good ways of dealing with everything that this format can throw at us. If they go big, we'll just gain a bunch of life and survive it. If they make a few really annoying creatures, we have Oko, Teferi Bounce, Swords to Plowshares. If we got combo, we have Karn to just shut down the artifacts. And again, we'll just have life to make it really hard for our opponent to kill us. So I'm expecting some pretty good games here, but we'll see how they go. Let's hop into some games, but before we do that, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by dropping a like or comment on the video or subscribing if you're new here. Now let's go play some games. Alright, really quick going over the sideboard. We're running Liquid Metal Coatings, Cityscape Leveler, and Portal to Phyrexia as our big payoffs. There's one land in here in case we need to find a land. Well of Lost Dreams is a different one that I haven't played before, but basically when you gain life you get to pay up to X, where X is the amount of life you gained, and you draw the many cards, which is cool. So, yeah, a lot of things that we like out of this deck. Let's play some games. Okay, round 1, let's go. We have some Okos. We don't have a second blue-green, so I'm going to mulligan this one. Triple Once Upon a Time. I mean, that can find a land, which is actually not terrible. Put away one of our many Once Upon a Times, and on our opponent's end step, we will get a Once Upon a Time out. So we could get a mana with a Delighted Halfling, but we don't have a green to begin with, so I'll probably just get one of these two. And then I would like to have white as well for Swords to Plowshares, so it is Temple Garden. However, on our turn 1, I want to play Ragavan. We want to save the Fabled Passage as long as possible for an Omnath that eventually comes down. Opponent's on some green ramp shenanigans, so our Swords to Plowshares is going to be pretty good. I think I will pay 2 life here. We're going to definitely cast this Once Upon a Time. I'm going to see if my opponent will take a Ragavan hit, or if they'll get rid of their Mystic. Okay, they're happy to do that. That works for me. Now, I could have alternatively just Swords to Plowshares, but I think I want to save that for the payoff. Okay, sure. We will be able to spend 2 more mana with their Kiora activation. I'm happy that they're doing it on this and not like a Nyx Lotus. Or a Nyx Foundry thing, or whatever the card is called. We'll get our Once Upon a Time out here. Look for something to do. Let's see, what land do we need? So we're going to have green and white covered, so we probably want red-blue covered as well. So I think that Steam Vents is good. But you know what? I think a Fabled Passage is debatably stronger. Nah, you know what? I'm going to take the Steam Vents. We're going to take a bunch of turns to just slowly play out our Shocklands. Well, now we're going to pay some life to do so. Let's pay for this, cast an Uro. Uro can put in one of these cards. That feels pretty good. And we don't need to shock in here, actually. They're going to have, what, 6 mana? I don't think we're going to die this turn. Let's have that enter tap. There goes Uro, and we have a Teferi Time Raveler, which is good. We can replay one of their big creatures, which hopefully... Oh, there's the Nykthos. Another Wolf Willow Haven, sure. That's a big mana forest right there. Old Growth Troll, sure. And do they have another one? They're looking at my lands, which is not good. We'll probably want to swords one thing and to fairy the other thing. Oh. Well, maybe we just get to fairy tick up here. Okay, how many cards are in my graveyard? 4. So I'll play Teferi first. I'm going to send the Old Growth Troll back to make their Nykthos a little worse. We also have Karn coming up, which is great. So I'll play a tapped Hollowed Fountain and say go. 2 turns till we maybe want to start playing this Fabled Passage. If we can find the Omnath, then Fabled Passage is really good. I'm going to definitely try to hold on to it to the best of my ability. Here comes the troll again. If they pass into combat, I'm going to Swords to Plowshares to make their Nykthos worse. Otherwise, I will just let them do what they're going to do with Nykthos. Alright. So we might need to Plowshares whatever they cast here. It's another troll. Okay. We continue to just go for value with Kiora. It's eventually going to be a problem.
Let's get moving.
There's 14 mana into whatever payoff they've got. There's a chance I should have Plowshares into that Kiora. Cavalier of Thorns. That is probably the one that we want to kill. Looks like we're going to be losing our Teferi. Vorinclex hits the graveyard among multiple Cavaliers. Paradise Druid, okay. Do they have any more big creatures? It's a Beseiju. Okay, sure. I'm down. So they're trying to take me off of green mana, but we have access to more green mana. We'll get a Breeding Pool. That does not need to come in untapped. And we will probably just Swords to Plowshares the Cavalier to avoid dying in one turn. Darn, that's Stomping Ground. Okay. Well, with the Fairy Plus.
Here goes nothing.
Jegantha can't be cast here. Karn can go grab something. Karn can actually go grab some good things. We'll have 6 mana now, so just short of Liquid Metal Coating. Or not Liquid. Jesus, that's not the right thing at all. We are just short of a Portal to Phyrexia. The Cityscape Destroyer thing is potentially good. Yeah, right now Karn just comes in and dies, but he does take the heat away from my face, which is good. So maybe we go for Karn and grab our life gain guy. Especially because we're about to add 2 more things to the graveyard and should be able to cast an Uro soon. So, Well of Lost Dreams or something else. What am I doing? I don't need another land. God Pharaoh's Statue literally doesn't matter because my opponent can make so much mana. I mean, eventually a Portal to Phyrexia is good. It's just too expensive. I think Well of Lost Dreams is going to be my play. We'll have 7 mana next turn. That will maybe be Jegantha plus Well, or the following turn it can be Uro plus Temple Garden. I mean, Uro plus Well. So they might just flip this Ixalan. That means, well, they'll just kill both of my Planeswalkers. They can flip their invasion. Alright, this is going to be a pretty big swing of power here. Makes sense. So we have Uro next turn if we want.
This is hardly my worst defeat.
Oh, you know what? We actually have exactly Uro into... We have exactly Uro into Well of Lost Dreams. Okay, so... Play Uro. Then the colors don't matter for well. What can't we play out of the graveyard? Pretty much everything. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Alright, there's an Uro. You get to draw a card here. The Teferi's great. We'll put this out paying 2 life. And then we will Fable Passage, crack this sucker for a Well of Lost Dreams. Colors are not super important at the moment. We'll just go ahead and cast this thing. I could try to Teferi. They only have 2 cards in hand though. And I think if they had some sort of spell that was going to flip the game, like a Storm the Citadel, that might be the card, they would have played it last turn. So I can maybe count on these cards not being super great. Even if I were to Teferi bounce the Old Growth Troll, they'd still have Nykthos for 8. So they just they like pretty much just have infinite mana as far as I'm concerned. So I'll do Well of Lost Dreams. My Uro attack next turn, if I do get to attack, can draw me 3 cards. So this has the potential to be very strong if I can clear my opponent's board. You make 11 mana. That Lair of the Hydra can be enormous. Oh my god. Wait, they're just gonna make a... Does this have trample when it comes in? Oh man. So now I have to chump with Uro, so that sucks. And then it's almost certain that my Giganta needs to be... Oh, this is a tough sell right here. I do at least get one more turn. That Lair of the Hydra is going to kill me no matter what, though. This is going to have to be just... Oh, ooh. Oh, I don't have enough cards in graveyard. Well... 4 mana. I can Teferi bounce something, pray to draw a land. Omnath plus land gives me a bunch of mana, plus I can Once Upon a Time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can also just count on Once Upon a Time finding me a land to begin with. So I can go Omnath, Once Upon a Time, find a land, play Teferi bounce something. We also draw off of Omnath, so maybe we just get lucky here. Alright, so there's a land. Gain 4 life, go to 8. We can pay 4 life here. No, we can't. I think I probably shouldn't do that. Because we take, what, 12? Well, no. If I take 4, I can theoretically gain some of it back with a Swords to Plowshares draw. Once Upon a Time could find a creature now. Oh, I don't know what to do. I think I'll just pay the life. See the cards. And it's 3 Omnaths, and I'm tapped out, so I'm dead. Okay, that was not good. Big mistake there. We will take that L in stride. I think no matter what, unless we drew a Swords to Plowshares, we didn't really have a way of dealing with the Lair of the Hydra. Kiora plus Nykthos makes just the biggest Hydra you've ever seen. And so we'll just take our 8 here. I think we're just not going to bother blocking. They get a 25-25 Hydra. That's a lot of heads right there. I'll let them have it here. And we're dead. Okay. Tough game 1, but we're going to bounce back from this. Let's hop into round 2. Okay, here we go. Round 2. Let's see if we can get something going here. With double Uro and Oko plus a Once Upon a Time to begin with, I feel really happy about this hand. Especially we're on the play too. If I find a Delighted Halfling here, I'm really happy. Okay, I mean, that's fine. We get a Fabled Passage if we draw the things that we want. Or I can just take a Steam Vents, play slow. I probably want to save the Fabled Passages for Omnath, so we'll take the Steam Vents. We are missing white mana, but I'm just hoping that that won't be an issue. We've got enough sources in the deck. Inquisition, that takes Oko probably since we have double Uro, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, but that also just feeds for an Uro, so it's fine. Also, we just... we draw those. Another Oko off the top. So opponent is probably on Rakdos Delver base. Dreadhorde Arcanist, sure. Well, I just get to Oko Elkit. Have fun with your Elk.
Gaze into my face and put on
And I will try to produce a way to block for our Uro, but it might just die in 2 turns.
so hostile to the truth.
Alright, as long as that doesn't go to my face, I'm happy. We get Once Upon a Time here. I will probably just end up casting that, so I'll just shock twice for the Steam Vents and Stomping Ground. Orcish Bowmasters, that's okay. We'll draw a card king with the Orcish Bowmasters. I will shock this in first. We're going to go down to 17 here, and do our things. And yeah, we'll just hold that for our opponent's end step. We are missing white mana for Omnath, which is unfortunate. I'll be looking for that primarily with Once Upon a Time. Oh, they play Kroxa. Interesting. This might be claim to fame, like trying to reanimate their Kroxas over and over. Duress. So that means they take either Karn, Uro, or my Once Upon a Time. If they take my Once Upon a Time, I'm actually okay with that. They take my Karn. Okay. We have 5 cards. This will be our 6th in graveyard, which means we can play Uronet from the graveyard next turn. Well, interesting. I think I'll take the Temple Garden instead of the Omnath, just because in the unlikely event that I draw Teferi or Swords or another Omnath, all of which 4 of those are in the cards that I'm seeing right now, I'd still like to be able to play those, so having the mana is probably the more important thing. We're really going out here with all these lands. I'm going to cast my Uro. I don't think they counter, or I don't think they have a way of countering this really. Alright, so we eat the graveyard to cast our Uro. Now we have a big blocker. That's going to definitely slow them down, and it helps me with gaining life. I will put out a... I'll put out a land and then just get my next Uro in, I suppose. So this Temple Garden can go in, we'll pay 2 life. That's fine, sure. Yeah, you know, making that Orc Army bigger is kind of annoying. I'm still potentially interested in playing that other Uro, but now that I realize that that's going to be a problem, I will just instead get ready for a Gigantha. That's going to also help me... Uh-oh. Oh, they go to Fates. Okay, sure. I mean, we can Uro gain back some of this life. It's not the end of the world. But we do need to start being careful. DRC gaining flying will be a problem. Do they have a creature in their graveyard? They do. Alright, so now we don't want to start spending a lot of life. Okay, our opponent is done. Why did they think that? I mean, they just need to get one more thing in the graveyard for their DRC, then it's a 3-turn clock, right? I mean, I can start going in with Uro, but they have so much power on the board that does not net me life. I have 3 mana coming in 1 time for this other Uro, and then I guess Gigantha's a blocker. I mean, they had a lot of things going for them there. I'm not sure why they conceded. I'll take it, though. Here we go. So that was our round 2. Let's hop into round 3. Okay. This is a pretty decent hand. I'll keep it. Can show our opponent how unnerfed Teferi was kind of brutal. Okay, so Temple Garden, casting Delighted Halfling. I'll probably just do Breeding Pool instead. Just makes it a little better. Right, they give me this back. They could have Spell Pierce, but it won't matter because we have Uncounterable through Delighted Halfling. Like it wasn't a Spell Pierce after all. We will create a food token.
And sovereign and free. It's not
Alright, so now we have another Delighted Halfling into Omnath, right? That can make red. We have white, blue, green. Yeah, we have Bant plus Delighted Halfling 6. This looks like Transmogrify. That's fine. We'll be able to Oko Elk. So Omnath can come down next turn. I mean, I could give them an artifact. Can they Transmogrify next turn? I mean, I can... The smart play is to just Fairy Bounce that, honestly. We'll Elk my own thing. We'll move to combat, see if they want to block.
You see the humor here.
They don't take it, which means they want to have that card, so I think I probably just need to Fairy Bounce it. I don't want to be making these mistakes. I don't want to get Transmogrified right now. We only have 3 lands, so this can just cast a Delighted Halfling. Alright, looks like our opponent was on Transmogrify, and the smart move was the right move. We take him out. Alright, kind of a short game 3, but let's hop into round 4. Here we go. Okay, here we go in round 4. We don't have the blue to play Oko, but if Ragavan can get through, that could be good. If we were on the play, I might take this hand, but I think I'll mull this one. So we can use Once Upon a Time to try to find our red source here. We put Omnath back, and then this feels like we weren't totally on the play. Here's Once Upon a Time. Does it get Spell Pierce? No, it does not. I suppose we just find more lands here. Omnath is not castable at the moment. So we will play this tapped, playing towards potential swords next turn. And then we'll start working towards an Oko, which can just run away with the game. Okay, if it's just elves, that's not bad. I think I probably want to kill this War Master. The War Master is just going to make them go too wide. Wonder what their blue is in here for. We're at the Shep. We don't care about the Shep. It's a counterspell. It's unsummoned. Okay. They must be holding another unsummoned. Sure. Okay, so I just play Uro. Don't tell me this is Spell Pierce. This has to be unsummoned because they held priority at the end of the last turn.
I'm certain you're quite charmed to meet me.
Okay. Oko, rather, should be safe for quite a while. It almost seems like their blue is here specifically to unsummon. I mean, their unsummon's gonna be good on my food token. This is fine.
Gaze into
We
my
could
face and put on your true shape.
shock this as well. Dash or Ragavan. I think Oko can just tank this. I'll just attack all the way in. I also want to provide an incentive for War Master to block this, or to not block my food. So if we can trade for War Master, I'm honestly happy with that. If we get a land, I'm also pretty happy with that. All the outcomes are pretty good for me. So they're pretty much just thinking about that one. This is fine. We have Once Upon a Time for our next turn. Opponent is now just sitting with a 1/1 in play, which is good against our Planeswalker. Or which is good because we have a Planeswalker. Okay. Loam Speaker, sure. Let's find a creature. Omnath is a really good creature to have here. And I can cast him to gain 4 life next turn. So we'll run with him. That has haste, or it does not have haste, rather. I can start elking my opponent's things, and it probably starting with this Loam Speaker, that would be a good idea. So, do I need the life from Omnath yet? Because I could also just get a Delighted Halfling out. Blue, green, white, red. Those are all the colors. I think I do want to have another blocker out, especially if I plan to elk this Loam Speaker. But then they also might have removal. Oko plus goes to 7, Llanowar Loam Speaker plus Allosaur Shepherd is 4, so Oko can just tank. Then I suppose I just don't care about my life total that much yet. There's Halfling. That did not hold priority, so maybe this is not unsummoned. I have no idea what they're holding on to. Alright, so we'll get a redraw with Omnath, and then next turn our Hollowed Fountain becomes life for us. We stand a pretty good chance to block here. Any land they send at us will die unless they remove Omnath first. So at the very least we're getting 1, maybe 2 cards out of them. Oh! Alright, Natural Order. Sure, that's a thing you could do. Do they just find a Traxa? That maybe changes things. Actually, whatever they get, I'm just gonna elk, so... Oh my god. Zopendrel Hunger Dominus. Is this a channel thing? At the beginning of combat, double the power, sack 2 other creatures to put an indestructible counter. Okay, well... Oh wait, hold up. Check it out. Oh, wait, hold up. Power 3 or less? Oh, so close with Zopendrel. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just elk him. Now he's a 3/3. We can block him. We can additionally Karn. We'll Karn minus. And I would like to set up Well of Lost Dreams. We'll put out a Temple Garden that can come in tapped for now. And we gain 4 life. Don't bother attacking, and we end turn. We play another Loam Speaker. I'm neither here nor there on that. I will take my turn from this position. We have another Oko. That's cool. I will get ready for something big. I mean, I could just slam a God Pharaoh statue, I suppose. That will start to hurt my opponent quite a lot. Especially because they're stuck on lands. I mean, I think this is just the correct play. I'm going to, in the interest of not making the correct play and getting my Well of Lost Dreams online, I will ramp to a Portal of Phyrexia, I guess. We will start with Well of Lost Dreams. We will shock Hollowed Fountain, gain 4. And then we will take action. We can pay up to 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe. Exactly, right? Yes. Alright, I get to draw 4. That feels pretty good. We've drawn up almost fully to what we want. We can elk our own food token. And that's enough for our opponent. Alright, we got to use Well of Lost Dreams at least once this series, so that's a win for me in my book. Alright, that was our round 4. I think overall we've had a pretty strong showing for this deck. Let's try to have a strong showing in just one more game. Here we go. Okay, this is the final round. Let's try to end strong. This is a goofy hand. I feel like I'm playing poker or something. It's a poker hand. Okay, so we definitely ship this one. Okay, they finally keep a hand after a while. We mull this one, and how do we feel about this? Technically gets a Oko out eventually. We'll find green off of the Fabled Passage turn 1. Unless my opponent shows me I need to respect a channel. The answer is maybe. Oh, it's like not if they're playing Hollowed Fountain. Okay. It could still be channel, despite this. So now do I want Ragavan? Well, I can just shock Hollowed Fountain if I'm given another turn. So we'll find green here, trying to get an Oko and beating a bunch of things. We find green. Yeah, so Oko beats most channel payoffs. If this is a mirror match and they have an Uro, then Oko can also deal with that. They get to curve out here, though, which sucks. I'm not super excited about that. If they themselves have an Oko, I don't really know what I do. It is a Teferi.
Right on schedule. Trust me, I have a plan.
Okay, so that being able to bounce something kind of sucks. There's a halfling for my opponent. And this is looking like it's going to be a slow control mirror.
I've got time.
So I will try to set up an omnath. If I find a red land, it'd be good to drop out a Ragavan. This Uro feels pretty good. Just getting a redraw here, potentially baiting out a Spell Pierce. Swords to Plowshares? Swords to Plowshares. We'll take that life, it's fine. Get to put a Breeding Pool out. Nothing to use it for right now, though. And I think now it's going to just be set up an Oko since we have a redundant Oko and see if we can start to grind a little value.
I'll protect you.
They might be holding counter spells. No, it's more Gilded Geese. And they go in for 1, sure. Yeah, you know, I mean, this could be counter magic. It also could just be they don't have anything useful. Let's play an Oko, see what happens. Alright, they gain 3 life. That's fine. We will make our own food. And we will start to get the elk party going. I'm not worried about countering anything with their Delighted Halfling. Their geese don't make mana anymore, which is good. Like, Teferi bounces my Oko. Okay, just the food. That's fine. Oko's still, like, ticking up over time. We can steal their halfling, too, which is kind of useful. Okay. You don't have a legendary spell yet.
So hostile to the truth.
Alright, so let's go ahead and make another food token. Oko has big mana available, and I think Once Upon a Time is the move here, searching for red. We find some red mana. That means that I can shock this, play a Ragavan, then hold up food activation or Swords to Plowshares. Counter spell, sure. So we knew that they had one of those. I am kind of thinking that they might have a second, honestly. I don't think we're out of this one just yet. Alright, they do this again. I suppose I'll just take the life, honestly. They're wasting their Teferi time. That feels good to me. Our Oko is going to just be neutral here at 7 loyalty. When it goes Once Upon a Time, they've been stuck on lands, I think. Okay, so this is Natural Order Atraxa, I think. Teferi bounce my Oko.
You show remorse. I'll show.
Okay,
Let's
no,
try
not what
this.
I thought. Ragavan forces potentially a trade. I can also play an Omnath. Omnath gets bounced. Oko makes a token. They have to respect the token.
One bite, and all your
And then I
prayers
just
are
gain 4
gone.
life too. I suppose. Pay 2 life for this since my life is pretty solid. And we can end turn. So they might Teferi bounce Omnath, they might Teferi bounce my food, we'll see what happens. But now they have 2 things to worry about. They're actually getting a little scarily close to casting that Atraxa.
That's more like it.
We have an answer to it, so that's fine, but they will redraw. Six mana, they're 1 away from Atraxa. It will not be countered, but we knew that already. Alright,
Quite the nibble.
we have our own Delighted Halfling. We will elf our own food here,
Your new
and
look
we
is
will play
enchanting.
a Omnath, looking for a card. Okay, it's not what we were looking for, but we do get a Delighted Halfling of our own now. And we can start to pressure this to Teferi, which is great. They'll definitely block with a Goose, because I don't think... Oh! They must have another
You should have
Teferi in
seen that
hand.
coming.
Okay. Can our opponent cast an Atraxa? They can. They will redraw here. It is uncounterable, and we actually can... Okay, so we can kill it in response to this trigger, but it doesn't really matter because they don't have a land. They could draw land and Spell Pierce. I think actually the correct move is to do this now, but I didn't have to. Let's see what they find. So they do find Natural Order. This is exactly that kind of deck, so they'll be getting another Atraxa most likely, or more likely it's actually a Craterhoof Behemoth. One of the two. Okay, so they take a counter spell. We'll not have to worry about that. Delighted Halfling makes it okay though. And what do I do? Oko, create a food.
Welcome to the
Karn does get some interesting stuff. Yeah, you know what? Karn is a pretty good draw. Move to combat, swing with the 2 things that matter that they would mostly want to block. I think they just take this because they're trying to hit their Natural Order. Then I Karn Ragavan. And we feel pretty good about ourselves. Whatever this Natural Order hits might be really nasty though. We're at 30 life. I would hope that we can survive something like that. Liquid can't speak. Liquid metal does not help us. If they hit with Crater Hoof, I think I'm dead. I can cast my Well of Lost Dreams, but that doesn't matter. We'll just set up with Godpharaoh's statue here. Put this in tapped, and then chill with a Ragavan sitting around. We also have 2 life to gain if it really comes down to it. So around 40 life, I think we can tank a Crater Hoof hit here, and then we can Oko it or something. Feels not too bad. A natural order, so they'll have 5 total attackers. Does this find a Traxa or something else? It's a Titan of Industry. Destroy artifact or enchantment, gain life, shield counter. So that was not really a hit. Oko can just deal with that, no problem. How does a shield counter work with Elking? If this, so the shield counter goes on top of the creature. I imagine it'll still be present on it once Oko deals with it. This Teferi bouncing my Oko sucks. Doesn't really matter. Well, they bounce that. Okay, that's a surprise.
Don't worry.
I can make another one of these next turn. Guess they really wanted that. Okay, so Counterspell can't be cast right now. Okay, well I can just exile the Titan of Industry, gaining them some life.
I will rid you of your
This might be a game where Well of Lost Dreams becomes relevant. We start with Godpharaoh's statue, just because my opponent shouldn't be able to cast spells. Is there something I want to trade for? I can trade for a 4/4. But I think I'll start with Elking the Titan. Alright, it's a 3 for me now.
Your existence.
And I don't really need to attack here. I could, though. Could just about kill that Teferi. If I exile the Rhino, swing in with the squad, it's pretty decent. I think I should have saved Swords to Plowshares in retrospect and animated my food. Then I would have gotten through to the Teferi. Now they get to hold up Counterspell. I have Delighted Halfling to get around it, so that's okay. I think I just sit tight here. Alright, opponent down to 20. We have a little bit more life to work with. Let's see if they have another natural order. Oh, they also have an Oko. Sure. Yeah, that -7 on Oko is going to suck. Well, our Godfather statue becomes a 6/6. I don't know why they did that, because this Titan can't attack, right? Or is it until your next turn? Until end of turn. Interesting.
I've got it.
That Teferi kills my Swords activation right now. So I don't know why they activated Oko like this. Do I care about Omnath? Might be a good trade, actually. Keeps my Karn alive. Godfrey statue animation is strong. Okay, so they hold up not counterspell mana. Well of Lost Dreams. I have no real way to gain life at the moment. We can guarantee a kill on Oko, which is good. I can also just give them a food for their Titan. Right? Power 3 or less. I think that's a really good opportunity. Trade this for that. Now they really can't block, and we have an opportunity to actually just kill both their planeswalkers and take out the Gilded Goose. So take out a blocker. Oh, they can counterspell. But it's fine. They'll tap the Gilded Goose anyway, which is what I'm going for. Okay, they actually maintain card advantage like that, so that's fine. We'll Karn plus on my Godfair statue. That means that we get to move to combat, and we have exact damage like this, but I can also make a treasure and take a card off their library with Ragavan, so I think I will go for it like that. Oh crap, their Titan has... Okay, I can't do it like that. I want to kill both of these Planeswalkers. Their Titan has Summoning Sickness, which sucks. Here we get to go Hollowed Fountain after this. And we can just pay life since we have a lot of it and put Giganta into hand. Opponent is losing some more life. They also would have to pay all of their mana to get a natural order on the stack. So I feel pretty solid. Alright, and we were able to wear them out. What do I think about this match? It was definitely an interesting mirror, kind of. They were just full on Bant control. And the idea was to go natural order into some big creature and win the game from there, I suppose. So, this is more in the combo control vein, then. Kind of fun. Natural order is a cool card. I think that it definitely fits into this sort of gameplay. And I think it was a cool deck. Pretty cool one for my opponent. With that being said, that brings us to the end of the video with our 5th game here. Hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at this 4-color control deck. Got to get some good activations out of Omnath. Didn't, unfortunately, get to use his second ability, but that really only happens when you have either a Fabled Passage or Oko, so you're not really going to get that too many times out of playing this deck. But what was really interesting was the power of Oko and Uro. Those cards are just so good. It's amazing. Ragavan also coming in clutch a bunch of times, and we really got to see the power of this format because really the coin flip becomes even more important when the decks are as fast as they are. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to try the deck out for yourself, the link will always be in the description. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by dropping a like or comment on the video and by subscribing if you are new here. With that being said, that's it for me, and I will see you in the next video.